Hello, my friends. It is day 258. We're reading Daniel chapter 7 through Daniel chapter 9. But before we get into our recap today, I want to thank you for taking a moment to check out this video. Hopefully, you are finding the yearly Bible reading program extremely helpful and a deep encouragement to you as you read the Bible every single day. If you have not yet accepted the invitation, please make sure you check out the description box below, and there you'll find the link that will take you directly to the YouVersion Bible app, where you can join a number of people reading the Bible every single day and leaving feedback. And if you're looking to get ahead and maybe even check out or maybe make plans for 2026, we are already preparing for that as well. You can check out our website, our church website, www.selflesschurch.org, and there you will find the link that will allow you to register and keep up to date with the latest news that will be provided regarding what we're going to do next year, and providing a number of resources and things that will help you read the Bible in 2026. So go ahead and start preparing now, because we're going to be entering into our 6th year doing this, and we want you to be a part of it. All right. So we are in Daniel, and today we read some of the most important content from the book of Daniel that we have read to date. It is the part of the book of Daniel that makes it so deeply important and so critical to understanding everything else that will follow after the Old Testament. So I want you to take a few moments to consider two aspects of what we read today, and hopefully it'll make sense. It all makes sense once we start reading in the New Testament. All right, so if you look at chapter 7 and chapter 8, you find that there are these visions that Daniel's having. And the visions that Daniel's having are surrounded around these beasts, okay? They're these ancient references to typical creatures that would have been well understood in the ancient Babylonian context. The reason why this is coming across so apocalyptic is because of where they are in the culture that they are planted in. So we look at it and we're saying, why in the world? This looks like mythology. Well, to us it does, but to them it would have been some of the images and the signs that they would have seen around Babylon. So you can see why these sort of things are being referenced. So when he's having this vision, he imagines, or he sees rather, 4 huge beasts, which actually represent kingdoms. And this part is so important because we don't have to get so focused on the creatures that we lose sight of what they represent. That is so good to see. Otherwise, we might busy ourselves on trying to figure out what kind of creatures they are, where do they live, are they aliens, these kinds of conversations, which have no relevance to the actual point that the text is trying to make. It tells very clearly in chapter 7, verse 12, that these are 4 kingdoms, and that after these 4 kingdoms have arise or will arise, that the end will come and the people of God will be given a kingdom. Okay. Now, when we look at this, excuse me, when we look at this, we understand that there are, yes, 4 kingdoms. And really, chapter 7 tells us the exact same thing that chapter 8 tells us. Okay. Now, I want you to look at this, see what's happening, because it's very important. In chapter 7, it gives us these 4 kingdoms, and then it says that this 4th beast will be split into 10 kingdoms. So right here is where we're getting right into that sweet spot where we see how, as we see in chapter 8, these 4 kingdoms come, and in the 4th kingdom, there will be a split that sets us up for the day in which, catch this, is so important, in which God's people will inherit a kingdom. Now, what is the very first message that you hear preached in the Gospels? Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. You see there? That's where the link is. It is connecting right there in that message the times in which they're living in to the times that Daniel prophesied about, which he says, by the way, will be a long time away. It'll be a long way off. So when we look at this and we see these kinds of things happening, we need to be making sure we understand who exactly these kingdoms are. And that's where chapter 8 comes into play. We see that the kingdoms that are being referenced includes Babylon, it includes Media or Medes, Persia, and then it includes Greece, which then is split into 4 prominent horns. We understand, as it refers in chapter 7, that there are 10 kingdoms or 10 kings. It's talking about the same empire. There was so much division in the Greek empire that they basically divided by fighting over land and possession. But when you look through the history, there are 4 major kings, if you will, of the Greek Empire. The Ptolemies, you have the Seleucids, you have a number of other ones, 2 other kingdoms as well. And then you have these individuals, Antiochus. You have a lot going on there. So if you read through the history, you'll see the warfare between the 2 kings, or the 4 kings, but it basically ends up being between 2 kingdoms. Even though you have Philip and I can't remember the other one at this present moment, just slipped my mind. But even though you have the 4 kings there present fighting, you really have 2 major dominant empires that come, which leads us to the times in which Jesus is born, when the Roman Empire is fully there, fully present. Now, you also have a key figure, Alexander the Great, who is referenced in chapter 8, verse 21. And so you have all these things happening, but all of this serves as the basis for which, or by which, Jesus comes and establishes this kingdom that was declared by Daniel. Now, when Daniel gets the news of this, it says in chapter 9, he goes into lamenting. I mean, he's mourning. And the reason is because in chapter 9, verse 2, it says that he's reading the prophet Jeremiah, and his understanding would have been that there would be 70 years of captivity, and we get to go back home and start all over again. And everything is as they were before. But what he discovers is, even though we're going back home, things are not going to flip and turn back as if you are cutting on a light switch. We are still yet in bondage, and we have a lot more judgment to endure. And essentially what he discovers is that he will not live, through the oppression that the nation is going to experience through these 4 kingdoms. It's just not going to live through it. He's going to actually die, if you will, in this state of bondage and captivity. And there's no short-term solution to this. The only thing that they can do is go through the process of being in bondage, and he laments that. And he tells us exactly why they are going through this. It's because of their sins, and he makes that abundantly clear. Okay, so when we look at chapter 7, 8, and 9, these 3 chapters are so critical. In fact, I think I said earlier in the week, if you were to understand the book of Daniel, you will understand the New Testament in a way that many people are simply not able to do. But, what I could say is that if you can understand chapter 7, 8, and 9, get that down, understanding that there are 4 kingdoms that are going to be prominent and present over the span of 400 years, you'll understand exactly what's going on the moment you begin to read the New Testament. And that's the angle. That's the secret to understanding the entire Bible and how the 2 testaments relate with one another. So here's a clue. Here's a tip. Become familiar with what is called the apocryphal writings. Those are just simply the writings that happen between or round about the intertestamental period. They are not canonized or not divine. They're not divinely inspired, but they are good history, and they help you understand what was going on between these 2 periods, between the 2 testaments, and how that history brings the 2 testaments together. All right, so check that out. Let me know what you're thinking. Leave it in the comment box. Until next time, thank you for watching. Take care. God bless, and remember, live by the word.